Hello, everyone. I'm glad to see everyone in here today, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I have Darkness Exposed with me,
Hello,
and
everyone.
we're going to be discussing the Lily Peterson case and the 14-year-old Carson Peters-Bergers that's been charged.
Yes.
Just a second, guys. I'm going to mute myself real quick, Joe.
Okay. So we are going to go over the updates in the case. It is such a tragic story. We do have an article from the Independent that when True Crime and Coffee comes back, I will let her go ahead and introduce. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, Single Mama 4.
Today, there's an article that came out in the Independent that's titled Lily Peters News Latest Preliminary Autopsy Shows Victim Suffered Blunt Force Trauma and Strangulation. Oh, this poor baby. A preliminary autopsy has found that Iliana Lily Peters suffered blunt force trauma and strangulation, confirming the 10-year-old's death a homicide. Chippewa County Coroner Ron Patton confirmed the details to the Independent on Thursday, saying that the full report was not expected for several more weeks. The preliminary findings support the version of events presented in court on Wednesday, where a 14-year-old boy was held on a $1 million bond on charges of first-degree intentional homicide, first-degree sexual assault, and first-degree sexual assault of a child under the age of 13 resulting in great bodily harm. Prosecutors said that the teenager who knew his victim led Lily along a walking trail near her aunt's house where he allegedly punched her in the stomach, knocked her to the ground, hit her with a stick, and strangled her before SAing her. The teenager, referred to by his initials CPB, allegedly confessed to police that his intention was to SA and kill the victim from the get-go. When they left the house together on Sunday, Lily's body was discovered on Monday morning close to the trail after she was reported missing by her father the night before. That's the article, guys. Sorry I didn't give a trigger warning before that. I know that was a lot, really heavy stuff. But that's the horrors that poor Lily had to face in her last hours of life.
It's so sad. The Daily Mail just released an article. I just saw it on Twitter. I put it in private chat, or I can go over it and share my screen if you want me to.
Yeah, if you would like to do that, that would be fine.
Yeah. Let me pull this up. So this
and
is
guys, just so
Mail.
we're clear, in the articles, when it refers to the minor, the 14-year-old minor, as CPB, that is Carson Peters-Berger. Is that the way I say his last name?
Yeah, Berger.
Okay, I know he's a minor. I know he's 14 years old, but he admitted to doing this. We heard that in the courtroom.
Yeah.
He admitted to that. So we're going to say his name over here because we have no support for somebody like that over here, and there is no discretion because of a minor or whatever, because that's just, yeah. Anyways, I'll let you go on, Joe. I won't get on a rant.
oh, that's okay, because I'm about ready to rant myself. This is something that we really need. I did a live stream myself on my channel yesterday about kids killing kids, and how did we get to a point that was so bad that we are seeing it nearly every single day, either where a teenager is being charged with a gun crime, or there's another report that I'm working on is that a 16-year-old and a 14-year-old conspired to kidnap a 3-month-old, and no, that was not Brandon.
God.
And another another 3-month-old, but it was not Brandon Cuellar from San Jose.
Well, I look forward to hearing about that one. Guys, I've
Seagull,
got Darkness Exposed link in the description if you guys want to check her out, but I'll let you go on.
thank
Sorry.
Rapscallion ASMR, the entire court proceeding was released yesterday, and if you guys would like to watch that during this True Crime and Coffee, if you want to pull up, because I have just the the bond hearing and the prosecutor's interview that was right after the bond hearing. I uploaded that on my channel yesterday if you are interested, and we can play it for this. Oh, hang
Absolutely.
on just one. I have I have a little just walk in the door. I will be right back. So if you want to,
right.
Okay, so Rapscallion would like to watch it. Do you want to go ahead and pull that up? And
okay, I definitely will, Joe. Thanks for letting us use those.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm going to mute just for a second. I will be back.
Okay. All right, guys, let me go ahead and I'm really bad with keeping up with chat and doing this. I apologize. But let me go ahead and pull this up after I get this baby's remote for him. He always sticks it in behind the couch. Here you go, Bubba. Okay, so guys, have you all seen the initial press conference when they found Lily? When they found her deceased? Rapscallion, were you able to see that one?
Yeah, I was. That police. I believe that was the police chief, wasn't it?
I think so. Is that the? Do you have that one on your channel?
No, but I can pull it up.
Well, I was trying to see what. I know I had both of them on here, but we know how my lives are going right now, so I'm not going to pull up either of those. So I'm trying to look on yours here. I guess it would help if I went to the videos.
Oh, you have to add my second to the stream.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was looking.
That's okay.
There you go.
And then I'll pull up her whoops. Lily Peters. And we're going to do the press conference. Okay, this is the press conference from, okay, this is the one that after they made the arrest.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. I'm Matthew Kelm. I am the police chief for the Chippewa Falls Police Department, and I'm providing an update on the homicide investigation. First and most importantly, earlier this evening, we arrested a juvenile suspect in this case. The suspect was not a stranger. The suspect was known to the victim. We do not believe there is any danger to the community at this time. While nothing will bring Lily Peters back or change what happened, we are very grateful to be able to deliver this news for the family and for the community. Driving through town and through our communities, we can see the purple ribbons, and honestly, I would expect nothing less from the Chippewa Falls community, Chippewa Valley, and our surrounding communities. A tremendous amount of work has gone into this investigation by a large team of investigators, including those at the federal, state, county, and local level. Law enforcement has been working on this case 24 hours a day since this call came in less than 48 hours ago. First of all, I want to thank the community for the over 200 tips that we have received. These tips were critical to solving this case. Our security team has and will continue to hold the crime scene, which is the wooded area around the footpath between the north end of Grove Street and the Line Brewery parking lot. This is important to the integrity of the investigation, and we would ask that you continue to avoid this area. The Wisconsin Department of Justice Crime Lab processed the crime scene last night. At that time, the body of Lily Peters was removed by the coroner's office. A forensic autopsy is being conducted. Investigators executed a search warrant at 422 North Grove Street. Evidence was collected and additional interviews were conducted. That is all the new information I have at this time. There is still much work to be done. Please contact the tip line if you have information you think we should know. The number is 1-800-263-5906. Again, 1-800-263-5906. The line will remain up until noon tomorrow. After that time, you can contact the police department's non-emergency number. Our thoughts continue to be with the family through this terrible time. We would ask everyone to keep them in your thoughts while respecting their privacy as they grieve. This is still an active investigation. I wanted to note some of the agencies that were involved in this. We had over 70 officers working this case just today, close to 20 agencies, including the Department of Justice, DCI, FBI, the Wisconsin Crime Lab, Eau Claire Police Department, Menominee Police Department, Altoona Police Department, Lake Hallie Police Department, Cornell Police Department, Ladysmith Police Department, Eau Claire County, Dunn County, Rusk County, Chippewa County, Wisconsin State Patrol, Wisconsin DNR, Wisconsin County Emergency Management, and Wisconsin County Victim Services, as well as support we've had from our community throughout this whole time. The outpouring of support for our first responders throughout this entire investigation and through this incident has been nothing short of amazing. So at this time, as I said, it is an active investigation, but I can take a few questions.
And a lot of the questions that they asked were a lot of things that could not be answered because it would jeopardize the investigation. And so I'll go ahead and curb that real quick. As far as this, let me get, this was the bond hearing.
All right.
That was
Attorney
yesterday.
Harless, first of all, there has been a criminal complaint that has been filed or provided.
Actually, we'll be filing that now.
Please approach. And Attorney Harless, have you been able to receive?
Now they do go into detail on, well, True Crime and Coffee already went into detail anyway, but I was just going to say that the prosecutor does go over specifics. So an advance trigger warning for this video.
A copy of that criminal complaint and discuss the charges and maximum penalties with your client.
We have, yes, Your Honor. We would waive any further reading. We would waive the time limits for a preliminary hearing, which we have discussed with our client, and we are requesting that it be set for a hearing next week. I believe there's still decisions to be made as to counsel moving forward, so I'd have it delayed for 1 week in order to have counsel permanently assigned and make a decision from scheduling from there.
All right. Attorney Newell, did you have any arguments on bond for this matter?
Yes, Your Honor. The state is requesting a $1 million cash bond with the condition that he have no contact with any juveniles and not possess any dangerous weapons. The state understands the state is asking for a very high cash bond for a defendant of 14 years of age, but given the statements that the defendant made to law enforcement that his intention was to rape and kill the victim from the get-go when he left the house with the victim going down the trail, the state believes that there is a need to protect the community and also a concern regarding the defendant fleeing, given the severity of the punishment he is facing for all three of these charges. That gives him a very big incentive not to resolve the matter and to flee the area, but the protection of community also is necessary in this case, given his statements, once again, regarding his intentions, and also his statements regarding the fact that when he did get off of the trail, punched the victim in the stomach, knocked her to the ground, essentially strangled her, hit her with a stick before strangling her to the point of death before he then sexually assaulted her. Based upon all that, the state believes that a $1 million cash bond is appropriate with the two conditions outlined.
All right, Attorney Harless or Attorney Schmidt, any objections?
Yes, Your Honor, to the cash amount. This is Attorney Schmidt. I'll be addressing the bond argument. We're asking the court to impose a $100,000 cash bond. We agree that cash is appropriate in this case. The charges are extremely serious. We do not feel that setting bond in excess of $100,000 is necessary or appropriate in this case. We do not believe that Mr. PB is a flight risk. He is 14 and an 8th grader. He cannot drive. He is not in a position to raise much money, frankly, at all on his own. He resides with his mother. He is a lifetime resident of Chippewa County. We believe that a $100,000 cash bond should be adequate to ensure that Mr. PB does not flee, that he has a realistic opportunity for some sort of pretrial release, as limited as I think that would be. I believe that in light of his age and that circumstance, that setting that bond any higher than $1,000 is far beyond what's necessary to serve the goals of bail. I think that all it would do would be essentially to index his case at the details of these offenses. That's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the court has considered the arguments of counsel here today. This is a serious charge, and because of serious charges, there are serious consequences, which gives a greater incentive for individuals not to want to return to court when they are facing those charges. And so I also need to consider the threats to the community. The information that was disclosed by the district attorney shows that this was a serious threat to the community. And so the court is concerned that this could be a further threat if the individual was no longer in custody. The court will order a $1 million cash bond with the conditions that the defendant not contact any juveniles and have no dangerous weapons. Attorney Harless or Attorney Schmidt, I believe, or I'm not aware of whether or not the defendant has any siblings that I could accept this from that could be supervised. I would allow that to have supervised contact between any family members that are his siblings, as long as that contact is supervised. The time limits for the preliminary hearing have been waived. However, there is a request for a hearing next week to determine whether counsel would need to be updated for the defendant. I have some dates. At this time, I would like to go off the record to go through our calendars to make sure that there would be time that works for the parties. We are off the record.
The district attorney gave a press conference after the bond hearing today.
Starts originally in adult court, so it is not a juvenile that brought into juvenile case brought into adult court. While he's still a juvenile, it's an adult court case.
Can you tell us the other charges and what your plan is for this case as far as keeping it in adult court?
So the three charges he has is first degree intentional homicide. The second count is first degree sexual assault. The third count is first degree sexual assault of a child under age 13, resulting in great bodily harm. Regarding keeping it in adult court, I think it's premature to make any determinations regarding that at this time. I think it's a very serious case that needs to be dealt with as is intended by the law.
How was this case solved?
That I cannot get into.
Could you explain the differences between the second and third counts, the two sex assault charges?
Sure. So in Wisconsin, so it's first degree sexual assault. That means regardless of the victim's age, it's an assault.
Okay.
Then in Wisconsin, we have a separate section that deals with sexual assaults involving children. So so that's the difference is the first charge applies to the victim of any sexual assault. Call number 2 would only apply if the victim was of a certain age.
Is this filed publicly then, or is it technically not filed publicly?
So it's filed publicly. So when I handed the paper copy of the criminal complaint to the clerk, that was my process of filing it. As you probably heard from the judge, what the public will have access to is limited by his court order.
Which means?
I'm not going to answer as to what his court order means.
District Attorney, the next hearing next week is to determine his counsel. Is that correct? And when is the initial appearance for this defendant?
So technically today was the initial appearance. Charges were filed. The next step would be a preliminary hearing. He waived the time limits for that. So it's next week is just a status to see if there is new counsel on board.
Thank you.
What are
Can you
the
talk about what this has meant for your office in this community? This is some very quick police work, very quick work by your prosecutor's office. Talk to me about all the people that went into this for this moment.
Chief Cum would probably be a better person regarding that, of knowing everyone that was involved. I know he gave a press release yesterday thanking everyone who was involved. I am aware of the Chippewa Falls Police Department being involved, the Chippewa County Sheriff's Department being involved, the Eau Claire Police Department being involved, the Division of Criminal Investigation for the Attorney General's Office for the state of Wisconsin being involved, the Crime Lab being involved, as well as a bunch of other jurisdictions as well. But I will forget to name some, but there was a lot of people involved in this, following leads, doing great police work to determine what decisions would be made regarding further investigation and going forward with investigation into this matter. I know that the community was very concerned to begin with, because without knowledge as to who an offender is, that is a very concerning matter for the community. I have a 17-year-old daughter myself, and I know that the school, because she plays soccer, the school mentioned that the coaches would make sure that there weren't any, as much as possible, any kids going alone or anything like that. So that's a very terrifying thing for parents to have to deal with, is to worry about, can my child be the next victim of a crime? Until you find out who you believe the perpetrator to be, that is very concerning. And I appreciate all the hard work that law enforcement did to at least bring it to this point in time. And it's not over now, but bring it to this point in time so the community can at least know regarding this matter that they're safe because the defendant's in custody.
Mr. Neal, you've had some awful cases involving children in your county, and then now this. What is this like for you going through?
It's difficult because it's just knowing how it impacts other people is very, I guess, my empathy is more with others than myself. It's just the nature of why I got into this and the work I do. My specialty, other than being the high profile cases like this, is sexual assault cases in general. Those are very hard cases. They're very time consuming, very emotionally draining. But I guess the way I look at it is, and it goes back to my daughter, is I try and be the prosecutor I would want if something happened to my daughter. And so that's the way I look at things, and not try to get too emotionally impacted on it, but just be professional and do what is necessary to have justice done.
You alleged in court that this was intentional. And you said that the suspect left that home with the intention to do, and you listed some of the acts here. And did you say that he had confessed to that point? Did you just speak to what you spoke of on the?
Yeah, so when I said yes, the statements that I made in court were, I think if I didn't clarify it, was statements from the defendant himself to law enforcement. So the information I relayed was based upon statements the defendant himself made to law enforcement.
So those are contained in your complaint then? Those are the allegations
Correct.
outlined that you said there. And then could you speak to, again, what you spoke of in there, of the actions, the intentions, and then the actions that occurred?
Like restate it?
Yeah.
Because of the thing is right now the judge has sealed the criminal complaint, so I can't just read from the criminal complaint. And unfortunately, I don't have a good enough memory as to what I said or did not say. So
You said he left the home down the path with the intention to rape and kill,
yes, I do remember saying that.
and that he punched her, knocked her down, hit her with a stick, strangled her.
I believe I mentioned all of those things as well.
How does that information change your prosecution? That timeline and those specific alleged acts.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously you don't have the criminal complaint in front of you like you may in other cases, but all three of the charges require that the defendant intended to do something. So like first degree intentional homicide, it's with intent to kill a person. So that you have to, that's different than like reckless or some other version of homicide, that you went into the situation with intent to kill the person. And obviously sexual assault is you have to intend to do those sexual acts. I mean, I don't know how they would ever be accidental, but that's the law requires that they be intentional.
That's based on his statement to investigators.
Yes, in part.
What are the penalties for these?
How is the defendant related to Lily Peters?
That I cannot get into at this time.
They leave. You mentioned in court they left the home together to go down that path.
Yes, I believe that's what I said.
What are the penalties for this in adult court, and how does that change if you move it to juvenile court?
Well, it's just to be clear, it's in adult court now. Mm-hmm. So the punishment for count number 1, it's a Class A felony. Upon conviction, shall be sentenced to life imprisonment for life. Count number 2 is a Class B felony. Punishment not to exceed 60 years. Count number 3, which is the sexual assault of a child charge, is also a Class A felony, and upon conviction shall be sentenced to imprisonment for life.
And not less than life. Is it mandatory life?
No, not yeah.
Up to life?
Up to life.
Okay, and then if you move it to juvenile, how does that change?
There are no sentences in juvenile court. People are adjudicated delinquent and get court orders, but they're never sentenced. Mm-hmm. So I can't say he'd be sentenced to something in juvenile court because that's not a possibility.
Is there a chance this could move to juvenile, or there's no way that you can, since it's first degree murder?
So there is a process by which the defendant could petition for, we refer to it as reverse waiver, is to bring it back into juvenile court. The statutes and obviously there are statutes involving that, and the burden is upon the defendant to make the showings under the statute that it should be back in juvenile court.
I would guess you would oppose that.
I'd have to wait till I don't do anything just reactionary to anything. Everything I do is based upon the totality of the circumstances as I know them, and I would never want to prejudge anything until all the facts were presented to me.
Have you seen any mitigating factors in this at all?
I can't get into the facts of the case.
Will anyone else be charged in this case, like charged for obstruction or anything?
You would have to talk to law enforcement in regards to that. And my guess is if they're looking at investigating other individuals regarding, say, obstruction, that they probably wouldn't let anyone know that until the investigation was done.
And Wade, just to clarify, that Class B, you said 60, that's 40 years incarceration, 20 years extended, right?
That's the total sentence, but because
right.
I
just wanted to clarify the way we
we're a truth in sentencing state, so all of our sentences are broken down to periods of initial confinement and periods of extended supervision. So all those sentences are broken down that way. Obviously, other than if you get a life sentence, then it's life with the possibility of extended supervision at some point in time.
Can you speak to when you believe this intent was formed?
Once again, that would be getting into the facts of the case, which I cannot do.
Can you explain the bail situation? They wanted 100,000 because of his age. You went with $1 million and got that. Why did you want it to be so high?
Given the, I guess I'll just reiterate what I said. While his age was a concern for me, his intentions and what he said his intentions were and how he carried out his intentions in the statements that I made in court are why I thought it was, I guess in my mind, an aggravated situation that called for protection of the community up at that degree, and the concern that given the penalties he was facing, that he would decide to leave the area. So even though he may not have a driver's license given his age, everyone in this world has access to someone who can help them to be somewhere else.
In your career, have you ever seen somebody so young do something so gruesome?
Yes. I mean, some of you may have been there. We had the individual, I think she was 10 or 11 years old, involving, and this was almost exactly right around the time of the vehicular homicide situation involving the Girl Scouts. So,
Is there one thing you could point to that helped break open this case for you? Was it a tip from the community? Was it detectives pounding the pavement?
Yeah. And I feel bad because I want to answer questions because a lot of them I can. I mean, in my mind, I know the answers to it, but once again, that gets into the facts of the investigation, which I can't get into.
Where was the defendant seated today during the hearing?
The Eau Claire, say the full name of it, the Eau Claire Juvenile Detention Center?
Secured. We just refer to it as, so it's JDC, so it must be Juvenile Detention Center. That'd be my.
Who are the attorneys say to his left?
Carl Schmidt.
So then it would be juvenile defendant/defendant. Then it would be Kirby Harless and then Carl Schmidt.
And why the decision to have them appear on video versus in person?
That decision was made by the court, not myself.
And you know the family a little better than us. There was no family that you saw in the courtroom, right?
I personally have not met the family myself, so I wouldn't know how they are. I can tell you that over the course of the last couple of days, have been in ongoing contact with law enforcement, dealing with various things, dealing with search warrants. So I haven't been directly in contact with the victim's family. I know that Sherry Dockel, the victim witness coordinator in my office, has been, as well as the victim advocates from the Wisconsin Department of Justice.
Do you know why the exception was made for the siblings? Was there anything to that?
I'm not going to speak to the mindset of the judge regarding making orders.
Why was it requested, I guess, in the first place?
Regarding the siblings, I don't think it was requested. I think the judge has brought it up himself.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding.
So are the search warrants still sealed as well, and the criminal complaint currently is sealed?
I know that that we have done orders to seal search warrants that have been done. I don't know if the court has signed those orders to seal, because the order to seal is presented by a law enforcement, not by me. But I know that orders to seal exist, or that motions to seal exist.
And then last, I guess, what's next? I mean, we have this fellow court appearance. What's the timeline of the legal process from here?
I guess it's more in the hands of the defense to make their determination as to how they want to proceed regarding keeping it in an adult court or not.
Mm-hmm. So what happens at the next hearing then in May?
Just for them to advise the whoever his attorney is, I guess just current attorneys or new attorneys, to advise what the next step will be.
What factors go into that decision, making it, keeping the adult going?
I don't want to speak to the mindset of a defense attorney.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can I get your first?
Fly high, Lily Peters. Rest peacefully in paradise. Dance among the clouds and sing among the angels until we meet again. Thank you. All right, so that was the bond hearing and the district attorney interview. We now have the Daily Mail article. And do you want to
And when did this article come out?
Looks like today. Yes, today at 12:21.
Okay.
Do you want to give a little bit of background since you know the history of Dad?
I
that-
can.
that-
Yeah, I can share my screen. I've got his information up here so we can show everyone real quick.
Okay.
Uh,
I put the link to the article in private chat, so you can always pull it up. But this goes hand in hand with what we were going to discuss about Dad anyway.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Where's Sword at here?
In my opinion, and only my opinion, this boy was being nurtured into a monster.
Absolutely.
Looking at the red flags and the influence by, just by genetics and by influence. Any perpetrator of sexual violence is not able to be rehabilitated. And so,
How familiar are you on the genetics side of that, Joe? Because that's something I've never took a deep dive into because I lack the understanding for some of the terms.
I mean, unless there was MRIs or brain scans done to look at the development, to look at the neurodevelopment, then it would be hard to kind of pinpoint, is this a prefrontal cortex issue? It, as a matter of fact, the one who would be wonderful to ask is Chapters of Crime, because she's a psychologist.
Right.
I know a lot
Chapters,
about
was she wanting to come
neurodevelopment.
up with us today?
I am not sure. I know that she's
I think I had
going
asked her
to-
earlier, but I didn't tell her I was Eastern time.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Avery, do you want to come up with us? I can text you a link.
So up on the screen, that is Adam T. Berger. And that is Carson's dad. That's his biological father. I guess the article probably gets into depth about him, doesn't it, Joe?
It does.
It does?
Yeah,
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. You know how I am. I'm like
that's
a
okay.
squirrel. I see it and I run.
That's okay. You're good. But he spent 3 years in jail after being caught with a stash of child pornography of prepubescent girls and 4 crack pipes. So wonderful guy. Yes, a lobotomy. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, my opinions are harsh as well.
Can we
They're
do it
harsh
with
as well.
a rusty saw?
Need
Has to be
to.
rusty.
Need to.
Has to be rusty. And then give him tetanus.
Yes.
But just the even on one of the pictures that is in that report, if you when you pull up the article, if you scroll down, his last what appears to be a school picture, to me, that's the face of evil. I
was looking at some of his yearbook photos. Definitely.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, MJ's not happy. But this last, yes, rusty drill, rusty drill bit, and borrow old Sparky.
I know. He has big opinions on this too.
Of course.
Here, you want that? There you go. Bubba.
No, according to the Daily Mail article, I mean, I don't know if he had glass pipes, but I do know that Adam Berger or Berger, he was in custody. He was, so according to charging documents, 10 pornographic photos showing very young girls in spread leg positions were found on his phone. Now, I'm not sure if that is on, let's see, Teen Judge. Okay, so he's the son of a convicted pedophile who was caught with a stash of, okay, so that was his father's. So the 10 pornographic photos showing very young girls in spread leg positions. And that picture right there. To me, that just looks like a face. I mean, I don't know how we can equate a 14-year-old with evil, but just in my own opinion, that just looks like an evil smirk.
It does, and his eyebrows. You know, though, I think,
eyebrows,
would we
yes.
think that if we hadn't known what he had done?
I don't know. And
because see, I'm
the other
naive in
thing
that sense
is-
because I love all children. I see a kid and I go crazy for them. I just want to, you know, nurture them. I'm a mom. I love
Yeah.
kids.
Sure. I mean, I think of my own teenage son and his pictures, and I mean, sure, he puts on some faces every now and then, but I don't know that it just something. It must be maybe because
the
we know what
eyes.
he did. It's the eyes, yes, the
It's
eyes.
the
and that
eyes. Yeah,
smirk.
he has that look.
Yeah. Seagull Trash, I'm honestly wondering if there not only was the grooming, but if he wasn't assaulted himself. We, of course,
There's
purely
so
my
many different.
speculation.
Yeah, there's so much different stuff that's going on so far that I've seen. It's not just the father, the biological father. I'm not even clear at this point how much contact he's had with Carson and how much he contributed to his upbringing. However, now I know we had spoke earlier in private, and I'm not sure if everyone who's watching and is aware, but the boyfriend of the mother's, he is very questionable. I have been creeping his Facebook like a creep, and it's gross. There's just gross stuff, and that's where I'll leave that at for now. But there was definitely a lot of outside influences that had to be contributing to this.
Yeah. Doesn't it, Arctic Fox? Yes, that pic gives me Ted Bundy vibes. Exactly. That's exactly what it reminded me of. As soon as I saw it, it was like, whoa.
Hair and all.
Hair and all, yeah. And about the fact of him being a juvenile and being protected, and if anybody wants to say that his name should not be released, that was off the table when he took Lily's life. Lily doesn't have a voice anymore. He took it. So if we are not advocating properly for Lily by calling her abuser out for what he is and looking at what possibly got us to this point, then we're not going to honor Lily's legacy. We're not going to be doing her legacy any favors by hiding it. Aiden Fucci, he was 15 but yet he was all over the news. We saw him in the back of the cop car. But yet this kid is 14 and he's being snuffed, by apologists? No, I don't think so. Where the Wind Blows said Ted was a handsome serial killer. Yeah. Yes, Sigil Trash. We saw that. It is awful. And there was even, I don't know if True Crime and Coffee is going to show it. She dropped off. She has connection issues, so she should be hopping back on here real quick. But in the meantime, we can go ahead and talk about the Daily Mail article. I'll go ahead and read that. So the 14-year-old boy charged with the R word and murder of Lily Peters is the son of a convicted pedophile. Adam Berger is 37 years old. He only spent 3 years in jail after being caught with what we discussed before. And Carson is being charged with first-degree intentional homicide, first-degree sexual assault, and first-degree sexual assault of a child. According to charging documents for Adam Berger, then we talked about the 10 images that were found on his phone. Some of them had been doctored to include comments such as, quote, "First in your little girl's blank hole, and then in your mouth, Mom." Talk about disgusting. Yes, big time trigger warnings. Berger's own face was superimposed on some of them. Other pictures showed the children semi-dressed, among them one showing a girl in a green feather boa and black high heels, and another girl wearing a pink tutu skirt. All of the revolting pictures focused on the children's genitalia, according to court documents. He also had drug paraphernalia, including 4 crack pipes in his home. In court, prosecutors said that Peters-Berger, so this is back to the son, planned to R-word and kill the victim from the get-go when he left the house with the victim to go down the trail. Let's see. So as far as father, he's currently living in a halfway house in, I'm probably going to butcher this pronunciation, Eau Claire or Eau Claire, after being released from Oshkosh Correctional Institution in April of 2021. He remains on supervised probation and is on the sex offender registry. I wonder how compliant he is. Because compliance is one thing that I have seen an issue with sex offenders. He and his lawyers had opposed extended probation because he would not have had unsupervised visits with his son, who he described in a letter as being, quote, "the best of me." Well, if he is the best of his father and takes the life of a 10-year-old precious baby, then they're both lower than low. And I say we bring on the wood chipper. Other letters filed in support of his bid to regain unsupervised contact with his son describe an unhappy child who never smiled and looked miserable in the company of his mother, Lori Davis. Hammerlane Dave, yes, they an article from the Independent said that, there you are. I figured you had connection
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah, you know me, out in the middle of nowhere. Don't let me interrupt
Yeah.
you, though.
Oh, that's okay. But yes, blunt force trauma. And oh yes, we need to drop the link for Avery. Can you drop the StreamYard
Okay.
link into the
Yeah,
chat? And
definitely.
just a side note, because we do cover the missing, there is an Amber Alert in Georgia. I just got it on my phone.
Oh, wow.
Let me I'll pull up more information on that in just a second.
Be sure to keep us updated on that.
I will. I sure will. Hang on. I just had a connection issue myself.
Okay, I'm just going through trying to get caught up.
Okay.
She was a very beautiful girl at Where the Wind Blows.
She sure was. There is actually a letter from Adam Berger in this article.
Oh, wow.
That was, would you like me to read it?
Please, please.
Okay. So this was written on May 14th of 2020. And it is to the Honorable Judge Michael Schumacher, Adam Berger, and then his DOC number. And rather than just having to say quote, 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 everything is quote, because I'm going to read it verbatim. I'm writing this letter for my son, Carson. I am asking that unsupervised contact be permitted. I have 50% placement and custody. Carson is 12 now and will be 13 upon my release. My son and I have always been close. His mother and I split apart when Carson was about 2 years old. I found myself raising this little boy. I had no idea what I was doing. It was tough at first. I stumbled a bit, but I learned to balance working at the hospital and teaching karate around having Carson 50% of each week. I have always been in contact with his teachers. We would go through his backpack, doing all homework and his required reading. We love to fish, hike, go to movies, and play video games together. We have always done everything together, and he is a great worker and loves to help around the house. We work hard and play even harder. After I was sentenced, my mother was granted grandparents' rights. She gets Carson 1 weekend a month, and while Carson is with her, I get to speak to him on the phone several times that weekend. We talk about school, friends, movies, and video games. I make him laugh almost as much as he makes me laugh. The rest of the month, when he is with his mother, we email each other every day. He writes to me about his day and about school, and he asks me to write about funny stories from when he was little. He draws me pictures and makes cards for me on the holidays, and I send him paintings and drawings. I've also learned how to crochet and made him a 6-foot by 6-foot blanket for his bed. I always let him know that I'm thinking of him and that we still have a future together. Carson is my number one priority. I had 2 years after my arrest before I was sentenced. I was ordered to have a chaperone present while I had Carson. I had him every weekend and Wednesdays. Nick Mahoney, Katie Weathers, and my mother, Mary, chaperoned. Thanks to them, I never willingly missed a day with Carson. It was and would be a hardship to go through supervised visits again, and I think more of one for Carson, especially now that he's a teenager. I understand the reason for the court-imposed condition as far as protecting society and allowing my supervising agent to monitor contact with minors. The wording of the condition might create the impression that I can have contact with other minors with agent approval, but that I may not have contact with my son unless I have a chaperone. Since my son is not a victim of my offense, and since I have not committed a child SA, this condition could be more narrowly tailored so that it doesn't end up being such a hardship on my son. I implore this court to allow me unsupervised contact with my son so we can get back to a routine and normalcy. My son is the best part of me. Wow. What do we think about that, guys?
Well, it sounds like he had contact with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds good on paper. I mean, crocheting blankets and all that. But at the end of the day, this is the man who had pornographic material of minors, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I don't buy none of that. Everything that he said in that letter to me is make-believe to him, if that makes sense in my mind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, Seagull Trash, I agree. Sex crimes and SA should let the public be the judge, jury, and executioner. Absolutely.
And Single Mama 4, just to answer your question about who the judge was Benjamin Lane up there in Wisconsin. That was the judge that you seen in his appearance there.
From yesterday? Yeah.
Correct. And I'm liking how Wisconsin is handling this so far, and I hear that they're very strict on their laws. I've looked at a few previous cases, and it looks like he'll be in jail for life.
Hey, guys.
Yeah. Hey.
Hey, Avery.
How is everybody?
We're hanging in here.
I'm
How are you, my love?
good, just wrestling with babies.
You're about to hear a school bus go by because I'm sitting outside smoking. So I was under the impression that his father, Adam, is still incarcerated because in November of 2020, he was caught again on an app called Kik, K-I-K, with more child pornography. So his years were extended, and his status right now for so it shows his status on the Wisconsin, the inmate search is active community supervision, but that ended, well, see, it began, I don't know, I'm a little confused. It says maximum discharge date is April 16th, 2024. So that's another 2 years. So I'm not sure. It says in as of April 13th, 2021, he went back. No, he was released on extended supervision from Oshkosh Correctional Institution. So he is in a halfway house. So I made an error then on my video. Are you guys there?
I'm here. I just had to make a phone call real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay. Are you there, True Crime and Coffee? Oh my God.
No, I'm here. I just I ended the phone call.
Okay,
True Crime and Coffee has some real bad signal, so she'll be back in I'm sure she'll be back in no time.
Oh, okay. So my video that I uploaded this morning, I said that he was still incarcerated because I had seen where in November of 2020 he was caught again on that Kik app. And but now it's showing now I'm seeing where April of last year he was released on supervised, like in a halfway house. So I made an error.
I wonder if it's technically a halfway house or if it's what Department of Corrections consider a transition center, which
It could,
is
yeah.
now I'm just speaking for Georgia because that's the only thing I have from personal experience to compare it to, but that's still considered, if he's in a center that the prison or the Department of Corrections set him up to go into, then he could still be serving out his actual sentence.
Yeah, because it says his release date is 2024. And so
Okay.
I guess that's where I got kind of mixed up.
Well, then no, he's still technically if his release date isn't until 2024, because I wonder how long he would be on supervised probation.
It says well, shoot. I don't know.
I can dig into that.
But as far as rehabilitating a minor, so there's a huge difference between just being a sexual predator and then, the actual killing of her. And so unfortunately in men, they're already predisposed to genetics, like if the father is a sexual predator, which he is, so the child is already, his risk is up to 40%.
Wow. I wasn't sure what the statistics were for 40%.
40%. And that's just looking at the brain, that's the anterior cortex. And this has all been, studied. Now, see, if it was just the SA Act, then there would be about, I would say the chance of rehabilitating would be probably a 50-50, because they would be able to go in and rewire his brain per se.
Sure.
But now when you look at the whole of what he did and the violent actions, well, then that lowers the risks. And honestly, even whether he goes through juvenile court or adult court, I don't see any psychiatrist working with him to that extent of being able to rehabilitate, all of that together. So in my opinion, he cannot be rehabilitated.
Yeah. That was my thinking of it too.
And then the environmental factors, my God. So his risk genetically is 40%. Then you have to look at the environmental factors. And if they were to do a scan of his brain, it's interesting because homosexual and heterosexual predators, it's a miswire of the left side of the brain. And bisexual sexual predators, it's a miswire on the right side of the brain.
Wow.
It's very interesting, and it gets really, really deep. And they have a test. It's called the GABA or GABA, GABA test. So if they were to scan his brain, they would be looking at for the SA portion of it, but they're not even going to do that because he's now considered a violent offender.
Right.
With the murder.
Even if he, regardless if he goes into a juvenile detention facility or he goes into an adult detention facility, they don't focus on rehabilitation.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, that would be so, the services of a psychiatrist would be so extensive.
Oh, yeah.
And that would only be rewiring him for the sexual, predator portion of his brain, not the homicidal. So that's why I say my personal opinion is no. Sadly, his life is just over.
Yeah.
And I don't even agree that he'll get out. You know, they say like 20 years, you know, and then 20 years on paper if he's charged as a juvenile. But when those 20 years come up, they're going to reevaluate him.
Yes. You know who I think that I would love to look into, to kind of look at look at somebody who committed a violent homicide as a child and is now released to public, because there's, I believe he's in New York, and he was one that I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't know it off the top of my head, but he was in custody for the longest time and then just got granted parole. But I'm honestly wondering if he will reoffend.
So was he convicted of homicide and SA?
I don't think he was convicted of SA. I have to double check, but I know he was convicted of murder.
See, what's most disturbing with this case is it's not like this boy killed her in a rage of, you know, he committed the SA, freaked out, went into a panic or a rage of what he had just done, and killed her because he didn't know what else to do, or killed her because he thought maybe he was going to hide evidence. This boy intentionally killed her, like it was premeditated. In fact, I believe it was like a quote that he said he wanted to break her physically, and he had been planning it. So that's it just makes it so different. It's just so unbelievably sad. And I've seen a lot of people saying about, and I had said this myself too, why was she allowed over there at that house? But when you look up the live-in boyfriend, the father of her other son, the Ann's other son, John Repetto, and they have a son together, Larson Repetto. When you look into him, his criminal history is all the way back to 1998 is just nothing but not paying child support. In 1998, he had some battery charges and some drug charges, I believe. But for the last 24 years, the only thing that he has is traffic citations and not paying child support. So, and she does not, the aunt, Lorraine Davis, she does not have a criminal record. When I searched her, the only thing I found was her divorce from John Davis, which is the one that she has the daughter to, the biracial daughter, and then paternity, where Adam Berger and John Repetto filed for proof of paternity for both kids, so she's got kids to 3 different men, but she has no criminal record at all. So I'm thinking Lily's parents probably didn't know just how bad that environment was. You know, maybe they hadn't looked at John's Facebook. Maybe, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. And I see that.
But it's your sister, you know, like my sister, when she's dating a guy, I creep his Facebook and things.
That's true. And I just think that maybe they didn't, because I don't see where either of Lily's parents, Alex or Jennifer, ever made any comments on any of his posts or anything. And I also see where their mother, Alex and Lorraine's mother, Mary Peters, she doesn't even acknowledge Lorraine or any of those grandchildren. She, on her Facebook page, she only acknowledges Alex's children. So I don't know.
I wonder what the breakdown is there.
Well, I think, I mean, the woman has kids to three different men, and I couldn't find much on her ex-husband, John Davis. She has a shit ton of aliases. I mean, I posted them on my video, her aliases. It is crazy. It's a crazy number of aliases. It's like 10 to 15.
Oh, wow.
I think it might be one of those things where she's lived a shady life, but she's never been just, she's just never ran into trouble with the law. You know what I mean? Like
Right. And then Where the Wind Blows said that they don't have their kids or grandchildren on their Facebook, only on Messenger. And I know a lot of people do that. I think the point that Avery was trying to make was she has other grandchildren that she probably dotes on Facebook, but leaves these grandchildren out of the mix, correct?
Right. And it also, and I hate to bring this up, but we have to remember that the Aunt Lori was married to a Black man. And, they're white. She was married to a Black man and does have a biracial daughter. And I just can't help but think, that many years ago, how acceptable that was to their mother. So I don't know. It could be it could be a huge number of reasons.
Right. And that's just a reality of the world we live in. Honestly, I'm in an area that's way behind the times. And, biracial couples here, we have lots of friends who are biracial couples, and they experience stuff that you wouldn't think would be taking place in 2022. But unfortunately, it still does. And especially with the older generations.
Yeah. See, his mother being alive. And I can only make the comparison, to my mother because they're right about the same age. And so I don't know. It could be a lot of reasons, but definitely dysfunction. I don't see any drug charges that came from that house, the aunt's house. I don't see any drug charges at all. Now, I did see, but I haven't confirmed it, where the live-in boyfriend, husband, whatever you want to call him, John Repetto, had 2 sons who died. He had one son, I guess. I read somewhere that the son was with Lorraine, who overdosed last year from drugs and died. And then another one who I believe was not Lorraine's, who committed suicide. But I haven't been able to verify that. And trust me, I've been searching. I've been searching.
Yeah, I remembered that. I guess you were the one who had told me about the overdose of his son, because I remembered that information, but I was afraid to bring it up because I didn't know exactly where I got it from. I couldn't find anything.
Well, you know how you see people in the Justice for Lily group who know the family and they're writing things. So, like they said, some people who know the family said that the sister is the one who turned in her brother for committing the crime.
Oh, wow. So as far as the other children in the home, what is your understanding of the makeup of that family in that household? Is it 2 other children? Is that your understanding?
Yeah, it's now, since I guess, they lost to death, is my understanding that it's Larson, and oh, hang on, here comes my son. Yes.
Yeah, take your time.
Taquitos and tater tots are in the oven. Okay. You just burped?
Yes, please.
You filthy pig. Okay, I'm live and people are listening and they just heard my 11-year-old kid burp like a grown man.
Just made me want some taquitos and some tater tots really bad.
I know. That's what's for dinner. We had a lot to do today, so
it happens.
We're lazy. We're lazy. But yeah, so, and the daughter, I don't know, I don't remember her name, but she looks about 13, 14 years old in the pictures that I've seen of her. And then
See,
Larson,
I didn't dive too deep in the other minors. I just, like you, reading in the groups, I picked up little pieces of information, and I try not to mix in that too much because I know rumors get started when these cases go big. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
hard not to kind of listen to what you're hearing, because some of the same people that were saying stuff early on and were right, that seem to really be having, knowing what's on the inside and what's going on there firsthand, makes you
Yeah.
kind of pay attention to when they're floating around rumors like there was meth being sold out of that home and things like that. And then you go to his Facebook and you see him holding a baggie in a picture saying that it's real or something to that effect.
Yeah, I
Like,
seen that.
yeah, I don't know. How did you take that post?
I thought, I mean, it looked like it was maybe marijuana, and it looked like he was probably showing it off.
Something. And if it was marijuana, everybody do what you want. I'm not going to down nobody for smoking pot, but how many parents is going to go on Facebook and post their weed baggie? I mean, that's a little suspicious.
Well, shoot, the other posts I seen from him about raping women, and I guess a lot of them are songs, but about pornography, raping women, it's crazy the things that I seen. And I did see a picture of Lorraine that he took, but it's from a distance, and he took a picture of her and she's standing in front of a slot machine gambling, and so you can only see the back, side of her.
That's the main thing I've gathered about her, is her gambling issue. That seems to be an ongoing thing on Facebook, I bet.
There's this poor woman who lives in that area, and her name is Lori, I think. What is her name? Lori something. And people have on the internet, people have sworn up and down that it's her, and they have been terrorizing and torturing this woman.
Oh my gosh. I bet they got the name of the spelling wrong, because it's Lorraine.
Uh-huh. And she's been receiving death threats and everything. She's even put a post on her Facebook page that she is not related to them. She doesn't know them, that this has completely torn her life apart, and she's like begging people to leave her alone.
Oh, wow. See, that's why I'm very careful to go real off in these cases when I reach out trying to get statements from people, because I do not want to be that person.
Heck yeah, that's why I did on my video. I said, they have the initials given in court were CPB, and then they have, a son named Carson Peters-Berger. And I said that would, lead one to believe that would be who we're talking about, but I never said it. I never worded it to say that it was him.
Yeah, it's so hard when it's a minor, but after I sat and thought about it, I really don't want anybody to be offended by me naming minors, but when you commit a crime like that, you admit to it, I don't think there's a question in anybody's mind whether he done it or not. Then he's a big enough boy to have his name spoke out and for people to learn about what went wrong so that we can predict this in the future.
And I would like to know if he's closer to 15 or closer to 13.
Well, there was a lady on Facebook, and this is the only information I've seen in regards to his age, who had made a comment about him being over at her house. So I dug on that a little bit. And my understanding from that little click is that he's 14 in 8th grade. He had failed a year, so that doesn't really tell you if he's any closer to 13 or 15. But, that kind of tells me that he's on the older side of 14, because he should have been a freshman.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm worried, that they're going to charge him as juvenile because of, the predispositions with his dad and whatnot. But, I think he should be tried as an adult. He knew what he was doing. He planned it. And his classmates describe him as being shy, quiet, like they never expected this from him. It's very strange.
I guess my question just keeps on going back to, where was mom and dad? And like you said, they might have not known what was going on in that household. They might have not been aware of it. That is true. However, we're parents. We know when our child goes somewhere that there's certain things you check out. You don't let them go somewhere where you don't know the people that are there. So if they didn't know what was going on in that home, they sent her over there. That's still what were you thinking kind of stuff to me.
Right.
I don't want to bash them too hard or anything like that. That's not my intention. I guess my intention is to really hit home that parents have to be more overprotective. I get made fun of all the time. Cut the cord, Julia. She's going to be in college and you're still going to have her on the booby. And then now they're doing it with my baby, you know? But that's
Girl,
okay with me.
I'm a helicopter mom.
That's what they call me, a helicopter mom too.
When my 24-year-old daughter was still in college, and I had seen on one of her friends' Snapchats, I seen her in a bar, and she at the time was only 19. So me and my husband, this is how ridiculous we are. We wore wigs and disguises and snuck into that bar so that we could watch, and because I was so worried, you know? And then, well, my
Oh, you were
20-year-old,
worried, but you didn't want to wreck her party kind of thing.
yeah. You wouldn't believe how many times I've spied on my daughters, because now my other daughter is 20, my middle one, and she's in college. And the spying that I do, or even paying people to spy on her own friends, which they're probably just taking my money and pocketing it, but like just to make sure she's safe, because like I tell her, travel in groups and this and that, but I get glimpses of things, on Snapchats or Instagrams that her friends post, where I think, she might be in a potentially dangerous situation, and I go overboard with it. I really do.
I guess I do too, but
See her hurt.
I'm back.
Oh, hey, Joe. We're so glad you're back. So guys, where were we at when my internet cut off, I guess?
Let's see. We were talking about about Repetto.
Yeah, well then we're still on the same track.
Yeah.
We know. We know, baby.
If anybody is watching this, that is near Georgia or anything, do you mind if I rattle off the information for the Amber Alert real quick?
Go ahead.
Please.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So in Snellville, Georgia, which is east of Atlanta, an Amber Alert has been issued for a 4-year-old little girl who was abducted by her estranged father. Valerie Molina, it's spelt differently. It's VALERY was taken by 24-year-old Alfred Molina. They were last seen at 1848 Edgewood Way in Snellville. They're asking, law enforcement is asking for the public to be on the lookout for a black Hyundai Sonata with Georgia tag number CCK1478. Valerie is described as being 3 feet tall, weighs approximately 50 pounds, with brown eyes and black hair. She was last seen wearing a tie-dye top, black leggings with unicorns on them, and brown shoes. Alfred Molina is described as a 5 feet, 10-inch tall man, 200 pounds, with brown eyes and black hair. And I will, I tweeted it out. I retweeted the Amber Alert post, so her picture is already circulating on Twitter. And
what is your Twitter, Joe?
What is my Twitter? Darkness Exposed. Yes, Darkness Exposed.
I thought so. You know how I am with Twitter. I'm trying, guys. I promise I'm trying with the Twitter front.
She is such a cutie. Let me share my screen real quick.
Do you have a picture? Oh,
I do.
Yeah.
I do. There she is.
Look at her beautiful face.
So please share her flyer. Let me pull up her flyer. If you want to screenshot this, you can. Making sure. So they are both Hispanic. And so please, let's get her circulating and let's get her found. and get
Yes,
her home
everybody, if you
safe.
could screenshot her flyer and just put it on your platforms, that'd be very helpful.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Luckily, I happened to get the Amber Alert on my phone as I was sitting here.
Yeah, you get a lot in Georgia, don't you?
We do. We do.
I get one a month in Kentucky, and it seems like, I swear, daily you get them almost, if not
Yeah.
every other day.
Yeah. It's very, very common. Oh, where the wind blows, it's me, Darkness Exposed, Joe. Alfred Molina is an actor. Yes, there is an Alfred Molina actor. That's right.
Learn something new all the time. So I see that we're going on like an hour and a half, and I always said that I wasn't going to make my live streams marathons.
Oh,
I don't care to keep on going longer. I just know that my connection's been cutting out, and I know that you have a live coming up tonight, and I definitely don't want to impose on your all's time. So I'm just putting it out there that don't let me keep anyone. My feelings would not be hurt at all. But I did want to give everybody in chat who's watching right now the option to come up and vent about this, because I know that there's been some talk between people, discussions about whether or not the minor should have been named and things of that nature, and there's starting to be a little bit of that going around. So I think the discussions need to go ahead and start happening as to why we can name him, and people, we don't want this to be a Summer Wells thing that blows out of proportion, of course, but stuff does need to be addressed.
Well,
I
but
don't
at least
see why
with-
not, because so many other cases that have happened, Aiden Fucci, Ethan Crumbly. There's just so many other minors.
Well,
where
and the
they're-
fact that the media has released it now.
Yeah,
The Daily
Okay,
Mail,
yeah.
New York Post, his picture's all over social media at this point. So,
I
and
don't
mainstream media.
understand why they were trying to hide it to begin with. They ought to know
Yeah,
by
because he
now that
admitted it.
web
Yes.
sleuths are we're gonna find that stuff.
Oh yeah, did you hear how some people from Reddit, social media sleuths can either be an incredible benefit or a hindrance.
Mhm.
Yes,
Agreed.
when we bring more eyes to a case, it's natural for there to be for differing opinions. That's going to be with any case, because just like with Summer Wells, that there's some that believe that they go with the theory of trafficking. There's some that go with the theory of a potential child abuse case, and so there's differing opinions out there, but when we listen to the differing opinions and we base it on facts, then that's where I think that connections can really be made. Social media can really make a difference, and social media has played a role significantly in the Gabby Petito case, in the Noah and Amber Claire case, in so many other cases.
And I know that it can be a hindrance to law enforcement, but honestly, if people weren't like Summer Wells, if they weren't so obsessed with their theories, would her name still be everywhere? Would we still be thinking about her on a daily basis? And I know for a fact 100% that almost every law enforcement department has somebody who is watching what these internet sleuths are doing to see if they come upon something that they haven't.
They'd be crazy not to.
I get it that about it being a hindrance. Did you guys see where the city of I guess is it of Rogersville or Hawkins County, I don't know if it's city or county, where they had a meeting the other day, and they're in a huge financial crisis. They're short on, it's a sheriff's department. They're short on officers. They're short on investigators. They're short on 911 dispatchers, and they literally went in and spoke to this board, and they said it is now a crisis because McDonald's is paying more than what we can pay deputies. They're so short-handed, and that's something they didn't want publicized. So I do not believe
wow.
that there's some redneck shooting a gun down my road. I live in the country. If you guys hear that, that's what it is.
It's the day for it then, because ours has the cannon off. I have 4 dogs in my house right now trying to all hide under my bed. It is a king size, so they have some room, but they're large dogs, you know, and they're all in here hiding over this man and his cannon.
Oh, Jesus criminy. See, this is what I deal with. And I'm city living in the country, and I'll come out here and holler at him. What the hell are you doing?
Oh no, I'm country.
Well, I
I'm
holler
country
at them
all the
too, but I'm
way.
country as a fried tater.
Well, one day I was walking out here on my porch with a super hot cup of coffee and half asleep, walking out here to get all settled and have my morning cigarettes and drink my coffee, and the loudest gunshot ever went off, and I did one of those like weird spasm things with my body, and coffee went everywhere because it scared me so bad. That guy, he's like 2 houses down. I drove down there with my fro in my house coat, my swollen sleep lips and face, and I told him what I thought about him. These guys are just crazy. I have literally heard some of my neighbors shout, "Hold my beer and watch this shit."
Oh my goodness.
And that's when I usually go ahead and prepare myself for whatever is going to be a very loud noise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard their truck.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Well, and then you get the 4-wheelers out there.
Oh yeah, that's on Sundays. Yeah.
Guys, we live on a lake resort, so the side-by-sides and 4-wheelers are driving me crazy right now.
Oh, me too.
Last weekend, one threw gravel in my husband's face, and we called 911, and they told them that since we lived on private roads, that was up for our board.
Oh.
Yeah, so I guess, you know, we can just go wild and fight down here and just take it up with the board. I don't know. I didn't understand that one, but we left it be, of course.
Tell your husband he needs to learn how to give the crazy look without speaking. It runs these people off from around my house.
Well, my husband is pretty vocal in the community, and nobody really messes with us, but the weekenders down here that are new, they don't know us. So when they see a man standing with his ball bat out there telling him to slow down, he has children, I'm sure it wasn't well received.
Wow.
Hey, Bree, my kids know that look very well. They call it the death stare.
Y'all are gonna have to learn it to me. I don't have one yet.
I've done it.
I was born with
you. I've done it to a few of these neighbors. Especially if they're just doing something just like really loud. I will literally walk down the street and just look at them. And I even had one of them, you know, tell me that me not speaking and staring at them was creeping them out, and I was still able to stand there and do it and not even blink.
You know, just us sitting here talking about our neighbors right now makes me question, and this always comes up in my mind during conversations. It makes me question how some of these crimes happen, especially these bad crimes that we see like with Lily and different children, you know, Samaje, all of them. How do these neighbors not know?
I know.
Where's the nosy neighbor at that's ratting everybody out? I mean, I'm not going to say I'm ratting everybody out, but I am the nosy neighbor. I am nosy to a fault.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
So I just wonder where they're at. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, Darkness, about just at the town over here, it's maybe 30 minutes from me. There was a man who broke into Section 8 apartments through the back glass, like shattered through it, jumped through it, held a woman hostage in her apartment almost the entire night, choking her in the shower, holding her, tying her, whatever he had to do. By the grace of God, somehow she got out and got to her neighbor's house, and they called 911, and she's okay. You know, given the circumstances, she's alive, and he was caught. But how did not any of those neighbors hear that?
Yeah. I mean, how we were talking, you know, that the walls are paper thin. Yes, where the wind blows, you're absolutely right. People not saying anything is why we are a mess. Absolutely. Because I think of cases like Edward Cashin, who is a little boy that was found deceased, and his sperm donor, and I'm not sure if it's stepmother or if it's the actual egg donor, because I won't call them a father or a mother when they take the life of their child.
Amen.
He's
When you
wanted.
said sperm, when you said sperm donor, I was taking a sip of ginger ale and I literally shot it out my nose because
Oh no.
because my son is a product of in vitro, and he
Oh.
yeah
Well,
yeah
I certainly didn't mean it with any
no, it was funny.
any hate to actual sperm donors.
It was
I
funny. I laughed
think
and I
I
got my
think though that they lose the name father when
yeah.
they do something like that to their child.
You
But
got me though. My nose is burning. I just wanted to tell you.
oh, I'm so sorry. I've done that before. But they're wanted for first-degree murder. Dante Jackson, who was responsible for the death of Sophia Mason, he is still wanted, and somewhere in the Bay Area or Los Angeles. Now, obviously, those are two metropolitan cities that you can literally hide in plain sight, but somebody has to know him. Somebody has to know what he did. It's been all over the news. And
Right,
yeah,
somebody's helping him. He's got to be getting money from somewhere, food, he's got a shelter.
right. And just like with this Amber Alert, someone has to know where the estranged father is. Somebody has to know how to get a hold of him. And so that's always something that I think of is, all these people that are afraid to come forward. And that's why I want to really push awareness. And Lily deserves for her name and her story to go viral, because she deserves for her life and to live on through the development. For instance, there's a petition going around about the Lily Alert. And let me bring that up. So the
I
Lily
haven't
Alert.
seen the Lily Alert petition.
Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay.
No. Mm-mm.
So yeah, there is Chippewa Falls residents have kicked off a petition aiming to streamline the way that authorities notify the public about missing children after the shock of what happened to Lily. Petitioners noted that there was no Amber Alert for Lily due to the rules around what constitutes its use, which is the same thing in with the Michael Vaughn scenario. There are 63,520. It's just keep going. Now there's 526 signatures. I will go ahead and I'll drop the link in private chat, because for some reason I can't pull up the other screen to drop the comment in there. So if you want to drop that link. But Eric Henry started it, and he just a little snippet part in the change.org description. It says, I would like to formally start a petition to create a Lily Alert. A 10-year-old girl went missing in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. The child was reported missing after a bike ride to her aunt's house. She was reported missing around 9 p.m. Her bike and body were located the next morning. The police called it a homicide. An Amber Alert was never sent due to the rules around what constitutes its use, we need something more. Any parent would agree that when a child is missing, even for a short amount of time, and they need help, then help should be sent. The community is devastated and rallied to start a search group for the missing child. We can do better as a community and must be more proactive. We need an alert with less regulations around it so we can respond quicker to missing children. And it's 100% true. Absolutely true. Every child deserves to have the same attention as anybody else, and any adult for that matter.
Absolutely. And that's the issue. You know, I questioned whether to do another live about Lily, even though she deserves it all. You know, she does deserve we need to raise awareness by talking about this. But I almost didn't, because I know there's so many other faces that aren't getting the attention that she's getting right now. You know, but that's just a struggle.
Yeah, but one thing that happens even during a case that is going to get national attention, it still brings more awareness to missing children in general.
Absolutely.
That's why I have I set up my intro and I put it on any missing case that I'm working on, or even if it's a case like Lily Peters that was, you know, missing and then later found deceased. You know, I'll still use my missing intro because it has the flyers of other cases, and you know, it has the faces of the other children, and I think that's important, you know, that we make sure to get awareness out for everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And awareness out on how to make changes too, because change has to happen.
Yeah.
We have to, there needs to be CPS reform. The Amber Alert system is in bad need of an update.
Yes, it is.
Or a new system altogether.
I'm going to hop down because I'm about to stuff my face.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll have some taquitos and tater tots for me.
I know. I was rewatching my videos of doing my tumblers, and I was like, my goodness, the COVID weight I have put on. I'm going to start ketones this weekend, so I'm going to eat the heck out of anything I want through Saturday.
Well, you are beautiful just the way you are. I would love for you to do an eyeshadow tutorial sometime, or a get ready with me, because I would be there with my makeup ready to go with you.
I've had so many people ask
yeah,
me
you don't
that.
have to worry about the weight, but the ketone stuff, I have a cousin's wife who's doing it, and she's getting great results. So that's what you want to do. I wish you luck with that.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, I'm gonna hop down and go stuff my face. But I'll be watching. I'll be listening.
Okay.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for joining us.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Hey, Checking Convictions. So glad you're here. She said
I'm
that
gonna
she loves to put out
fangirl. I'm gonna do
prevention
it.
information. Are you gonna do it?
I'm gonna fangirl. It's happening. Checking, how are you today? Yeah, prevention information is really where it's at, because if we can stop these things ahead of time, then we don't have to worry about diving into these cases and seeing all this horrific crap that's happening to people.
Yeah, and the fact that, you know, when and if we have some good true crime buffs in here, you'll probably know the names when I mention them. But somebody, just thinking back of a case that I was personally locked up with, and they both committed the crime as a teenager. They have a 30-year sentence, and that's their max out date. So that's the end all that they will get out. And the reason that I say they is because that is Taz and Jazz Whitehead. They murdered their mother in Georgia. They are twins. One is in northern Georgia, in the facility up there, and one is in central Georgia. And the
Is
facility
this the
that
twin
I was-
girls
Yes. Yes, twin
that
girls.
stabbed their mother?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
They're getting out of jail?
They will be. They only have the 30, I believe it's the 30-year max, because they weren't sentenced to life. They were given the straight 30 sentence. And that 30 is the mandatory minimum for, well, now it is. Now it's the mandatory minimum for life in Georgia. But they'll be getting out in their 40s. And yes,
They'll
Isaiah
still have a life
520.
to live.
And they will. Yes, they will still have a life to live when they get out. And let me tell you, those girls do not want for anything in prison. They
Oh,
run
I'd say not.
stores. They run stores out of their lockers. Yeah, I could do a complete story time on them, but yes, Isaiah 520, I did
That's the
get the
way it
Georgia
goes,
Amber
though.
Alert.
And I bet that they got a lesser.
Uh-oh. Did you lose connection? I know that they did. I believe they took yes, gay for the stay. They are both gay for the stay, as a matter of fact. Oh my goodness, I haven't heard that term in years. But trust me, these women in prison, that's not justice for the victim. I'm sorry. They're in there dancing, twerking, having twerking contests. They even got a prison guard. He ended up getting fired. But they even had a prison guard get up on the table and twerk with them. And so it's crazy. Make hooch. Oh my goodness. And Checking says, I am privy to prison myself, or at least what goes on there. Yeah. I was there for a year, and that was long enough for me. I was ready to get home to my babies. Learn to fix hair. Oh, and thread eyebrows with tampon strings. Yes, I'm serious. Yeah, they fight over whose girlfriend is talking to who, and if that girlfriend is talking to the wrong person, oh, Lord help the compound. I'm sure she has connection problems. Your husband did 5 in Rikers and then 14 in Leavenworth. Now those are some heavy duty prisons. Oh yeah, grilled cheese with flat irons. They would make like grilled burritos. They would call them wraps, but and they would literally make those and they cook with flat irons. Oh, the stories. I'll do some story times one of these days on my channel and make some prison recipes. Well, I hope her connection didn't drop completely. But I know that we're getting almost to the 2-hour mark. So I think I will go ahead and sign off and just continue to share Lily's picture and say her name and tell her story. Yes, I did get the Georgia Amber Alert, and I got it out. So far, I've gotten it out on Twitter, but I will be getting it out everywhere else. and Arctic Fox will be working on a video. But I will go ahead and post it on my community wall for if anybody wants to share it from there, then you can. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a wonderful day. Yes, thank you, checking. Have a great day. Stay safe and kind. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for all you do. And thank you for all that anybody is watching this, because we can all make a difference. We all have a voice, and we all deserve to use our voice. And where the wind blows, what the heck are they doing with curling irons in prison? Oh, they've got flat irons, they've got makeup. Yeah, they've got a whole bunch of things. So I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.